Hi, I'm Heaven. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. One click from you means more stories can be shared. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers and make a difference. Let's begin. I think he's cheating on me, I said, staring into my coffee cup as if it held answers instead of just caffeine. My best friend Melissa reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Heaven, come on. David? Mr. Perfect Husband? The guy who brought you soup every day when you had the flu last winter? Something's different, I insisted. He's working late 3 nights a week now. His phone is always face down, and yesterday I saw him delete a text message when he thought I wasn't looking. That doesn't necessarily mean, and there's this woman who keeps calling. When I answer, she hangs up. Melissa's eyebrows shot up. Okay, that's a little suspicious. A little. My parents' marriage fell apart because of cheating. I promised myself I'd never be blindsided like my mom was. So what are you going to do? Melissa asked, stirring her latte absently. I bought a small listening device. I'm going to put it under the passenger seat of his car. Melissa's eyes widened. Heaven, isn't that illegal? Probably, I admitted. But I need to know. It's been eating me alive for weeks. What exactly are you hoping to hear? The truth, whatever it is. The device was smaller than I expected, barely larger than my thumbnail. I slipped it under the passenger seat that evening while David was in the shower. Going somewhere? He asked when he found me in the garage. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Just grabbing something from the car. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We still on for dinner at my parents' on Sunday? Of course, I replied, forcing a smile. He nodded and turned to leave. I've got an early meeting tomorrow. Don't wait up. My stomach twisted. Another late night. Another excuse. The next morning, after David left, I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus anyway. I spent the day pacing, checking the app connected to the listening device every few minutes. Nothing interesting, just David talking to clients, making mundane calls about deadlines and meetings, until 4:37 p.m. She's getting suspicious. David's voice came through crystal clear. My heart stopped. I know, he continued. I'm being careful, but Heaven's not stupid. A woman's voice responded, but I couldn't make out what she said. Tomorrow, same time, same place, David replied. I'll make some excuse about working late again. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen cracking. I didn't care. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely stand. When I finally recovered enough to retrieve my phone, I listened to the rest of the conversation. Nothing concrete, but enough to confirm my suspicions. I deleted the app. I didn't need it anymore. What are you going to do? Melissa asked when I called her, sobbing. I don't know. Confront him? Divorce him? Key his car? Take a breath, she said calmly. You need to think this through. Do you have actual proof besides a vague conversation? Isn't that enough? Heaven, listen to me. If you're going to leave him, you need more than a recording that may or may not prove anything. So what? I just pretend everything's fine? For now, yes. Gather more evidence. Find out who she is. I followed Melissa's advice, though every moment with David felt like swallowing glass. I smiled through dinner, laughed at his jokes, and pretended I didn't notice when he checked his phone under the table. I have to work late tomorrow, he said casually over breakfast the next morning. Again? That's the 4th time this week. He shrugged. Big project. The Henderson account. Right, I said, focusing on buttering my toast. The Henderson account. As soon as David left for work, I called my sister Olivia. I need your help, I said when she answered. Can you meet me for lunch? What's going on? Olivia asked once we were seated at our favorite diner. David's cheating on me, I said bluntly. Olivia's jaw dropped. What? Are you sure? I explained everything. The late nights, the secretive phone behavior, what I'd overheard on the recording. That definitely sounds suspicious, she admitted. But you need more than just suspicions. That's what Melissa said too. Olivia considered for a moment. You said he's meeting this woman today, right? Same time, same place? I nodded. So we follow him. What? We follow him. Find out where they're meeting, who she is. I don't know. Heaven, you put a listening device in his car. This is tame by comparison. Olivia picked me up after lunch. We parked across from David's office building and waited. There he is, Olivia pointed as David exited the building at exactly 5 p.m. So much for working late. We followed his car at a safe distance, weaving through downtown traffic until he pulled into the parking lot of an upscale hotel. The Grand Plaza? Olivia said incredulously. Not even trying to be discreet, is he? My stomach churned as we watched David check his watch, then enter the hotel. 10 minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up, and a woman in a stylish business suit stepped out. She looked vaguely familiar, though I couldn't place her. Do you know her? Olivia asked. I'm not sure. I squinted, trying to get a better look. Maybe I've seen her at one of David's work events? The woman checked her phone, smiled at something on the screen, and walked into the hotel. What now? I asked, feeling sick. Now we know where they meet, Olivia said grimly. Next, we find out who she is. The following day, I did something I'd never done before. I went through David's home office. I felt dirty, like a criminal in my own house, but the betrayal burning in my chest outweighed any guilt. In his desk drawer, I found a business card for someone named Veronica Reed, financial consultant. The logo matched the company next door to David's office. Look familiar? I texted the name to Olivia along with a photo of the card. Let me check something, she replied. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a link to a LinkedIn profile. It was her, the woman from the hotel. Bingo, Olivia texted. Now we have a name. I spent the next week in a fog, going through the motions of my life while plotting my next move. I considered confronting David immediately, but something held me back. I wanted more than just evidence of an affair. I wanted justice. That Saturday, David announced he was playing golf with his friend Marcus. Mind if I use your computer? I asked casually. Mine's acting up. Sure, he said, grabbing his golf clubs. Just don't delete anything important. As soon as he left, I sat down at his desk and started searching. His email was password protected, but I knew all his usual combinations. Third try lucky, the name of his childhood dog followed by his birth year. I scrolled through his emails, finding nothing suspicious until I checked his deleted folder. There they were, dozens of emails between David and Veronica, dating back 6 months. But they weren't love letters. They were business plans, financial strategies, property assessments. My confusion grew as I read deeper. These weren't the emails of lovers. They were partners planning something that involved our finances. I printed several key emails and called Olivia. I don't think he's having an affair, I said when she picked up. I think it's worse. He's trying to hide assets before filing for divorce, my brother-in-law Tyler said later that day. As a divorce attorney, he'd seen this pattern before. Are you sure? I asked, showing him the emails I'd printed. Tyler nodded grimly. He's transferring money to accounts you don't know about, investing in properties under business names you're not connected to. Classic pre-divorce financial planning. But why? My voice cracked. We've never even talked about divorce. Has he suggested you see a financial advisor recently? Someone he recommends? I thought back. Yes, a few weeks ago. He said we should get our finances in order for retirement planning. That would have been his way to get you to sign documents without understanding what you were really agreeing to, Tyler explained. Giving up rights to assets you're legally entitled to? What do I do? You beat him at his own game, Tyler said firmly. We're meeting with a financial advisor tomorrow, David announced at dinner the following week. I took a sip of water to hide my expression. Oh? Who? Veronica Reed. She's brilliant, comes highly recommended. Great, I smiled. I'm looking forward to meeting her. David looked surprised but pleased. Really? I thought you might push back. Why would I? I think it's smart to plan for our future. If only he knew which future I was planning for. The meeting with Veronica was surreal. Watching her and David exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking, seeing the practiced way she presented financial options that would subtly disadvantage me. So these investment opportunities are only in David's name because, I asked innocently. Tax purposes, Veronica answered smoothly. But you'd still benefit from the growth, of course. Of course, I smiled. And the property in Colorado? That would be joint ownership, right? David's head snapped up. What property in Colorado? I feigned confusion. The mountain property. Isn't that part of this portfolio? Veronica's professional demeanor cracked slightly. I don't believe we've discussed any Colorado properties, Mrs. Williams. My mistake, I said lightly. Must have mixed it up with something else. The tension in the room was palpable. You were amazing, Olivia said when I recounted the meeting. Did you see their faces? They know I'm onto something, but they don't know what exactly. What's your next move? I smiled grimly. I've already made it. That evening, my mother called. Heaven, are you all right? Tyler mentioned you might be going through something. I hadn't planned to tell my parents yet, but suddenly the dam broke. David's planning to divorce me, Mom. He's hiding assets, working with some financial consultant to cheat me out of what's legally mine. Silence on the other end. Then, your father and I are coming over, right now. That's not necessary. It absolutely is, and I'm calling your Uncle Stephen. Uncle Stephen, my mother's brother, was a well-respected judge. I hadn't considered involving him, but suddenly it made perfect sense. By the time David came home, my parents and Uncle Stephen were seated in our living room. What's going on? David asked, looking between us nervously. Family meeting, I said calmly. Please, join us. I have some work to finish. David. My father's voice was ice. Sit down. David sat. Heaven has shared some concerning information with us, Uncle Stephen began. Information suggesting you're planning to hide marital assets prior to filing for divorce. That's ridiculous, David spluttered. Heaven, what have you been telling them? Only what I found in your emails, I replied, sliding copies across the coffee table. And what Veronica Reed nearly confirmed today. David's face drained of color. You went through my emails? Yes, I admitted. Just like you went through our marriage vows. These emails don't prove anything, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Perhaps not conclusively, Uncle Stephen agreed. But they're enough to initiate a formal investigation into possible financial fraud against a spouse. As a judge, I've seen cases like this destroy not only marriages, but careers. Are you threatening me? David asked incredulously. No, I answered for my uncle. We're giving you an opportunity. My father leaned forward, eyes locked on David. An opportunity to make this right before it goes too far. What do you want from me? David asked, looking defeated. Everything, I said simply. Everything that's rightfully mine. You can't prove anything, he tried once more, but even he didn't seem convinced. My mother, who had been silent until now, spoke up. David, my husband cheated me out of everything when he left. Heaven watched me struggle for years. Did you really think she wouldn't recognize the signs? I have friends at the Bar Association, Uncle Stephen added, and at the Securities and Exchange Commission. People who take financial misconduct very seriously. David swallowed hard. I need to speak with my lawyer. By all means, Uncle Stephen smiled thinly. Though you might want to find one who specializes in defending against fraud charges. The meeting lasted 3 hours. By the end, David had agreed to a settlement that far exceeded what I would have received if his plan had succeeded. Why didn't you just ask for a divorce? I asked when everyone else had left. Why all the scheming? David sank onto the couch, suddenly looking much older. Your family has connections I could never match. I was afraid I'd end up with nothing. So you decided to leave me with nothing instead? It wasn't like that at the beginning. Veronica suggested small steps and then it snowballed. Veronica, I repeated. Just your financial advisor, right? He had the decency to look ashamed. It started that way, and ended with you both planning to screw me over, financially and otherwise. Heaven, don't. I cut him off. Don't say my name like you still have that right. A month after filing for divorce, I met with Melissa and Olivia for brunch at our favorite spot. How are you holding up? Melissa asked, passing me a mimosa. Better than expected, I admitted. Tyler says everything's proceeding smoothly with the settlement. And David? Olivia raised an eyebrow. Still sending apologetic texts. Still blocked. Good girl, she nodded approvingly. And what about the house? I'm keeping it, I said, feeling a spark of satisfaction. Redecorating, too. No more of those awful golf paintings he insisted on hanging everywhere. To new beginnings, Melissa raised her glass. And to trusting your instincts, Olivia added. To family, I said, thinking of how mine had rallied around me. The real kind. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. David left town shortly after, his reputation in tatters after word spread about his attempted financial deception. Uncle Stephen had made some calls, and suddenly David found his client list dwindling rapidly. Veronica Reed's consulting firm was being investigated for unethical practices, thanks to an anonymous tip with substantial documentation. I kept the house, our savings, and my dignity. Most importantly, I kept my support system. Melissa, Olivia, Tyler, my parents, and Uncle Stephen had all rallied around me when I needed them most. How did you know? Melissa asked one evening as we shared a bottle of wine on my patio. What made you suspicious in the first place? I thought back to that listening device, the catalyst that had started everything. Women's intuition, I said with a small smile, and a healthy dose of paranoia. To paranoia, Melissa raised her glass, and to new beginnings, I added. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. David. Can we talk? I've been doing a lot of thinking. I made a terrible mistake. I deleted the message without responding and blocked the number. Some mistakes don't deserve second chances. As the sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, I realized that while I hadn't found what I expected when I placed that listening device, I had found something more valuable. The truth and the strength to face it head on. Have you ever had your instincts warn you about someone, only to discover the truth was something entirely different than what you expected? What would you have done in Heaven's place when she realized what David was really planning?